Have you ever felt like you're living in a TV drama? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. My wife, a vet, and even her own family betrayed me in ways I never could have imagined. And let me tell you, I didn't just sit back and take it. I did something about it, something no one saw coming. But here's the kicker, it gets worse than just an affair. This was about lies, deceit, and a plan to ruin everything I worked for. Trust me, you won't want to miss the end of this story. Keep watching to find out how I turned the tables in the most shocking way at a family dinner you'd never expect. Over time, Becky started changing. At first, it was small things delaying the idea of having kids. She'd always say, "Let's wait a little longer." At first, I didn't think much of it. I respected her pace, but then the changes became more apparent. Her wants grew bigger, her demands more extravagant. What started as a simple life on a small farm slowly turned into something unrecognizable. She wanted a thoroughbred horse, a six-figure investment that hardly got ridden. She complained our regular cows were too basic and insisted on importing Brahman cattle. Nothing seemed good enough for her anymore. Even our trucks, brand new diesel models every year, became part of the show, something to impress others rather than something we needed. I was working hard, investing everything into our life, thinking it would bring us happiness. I didn't mind. I wanted her to be happy. But then, the costs kept rising, and I started wondering if this was still the life we had both dreamed of. Then it happened. I received the evidence. Pictures, text messages, and even videos showing Becky with Dr. Jason Cooper, the town vet. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There they were, together, in hotel rooms, at restaurants, and in places I knew all too well. The pictures were clear, with timestamps and locations proving they'd been together while I was away. There were even texts, hundreds of them, detailing their secret meetings. One message from Becky to Jason read, "Can't wait till he leaves again. I'll be free for the weekend. We can finally be together without worrying." Another text showed her telling him how much she was looking forward to telling me that she was pregnant, though, of course, it wasn't my child. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I couldn't breathe. The world seemed to collapse around me as I scrolled through the messages. I had trusted her. We had built a life together, and now everything I thought was real, everything I believed in, was just a lie. My emotions were all over the place: rage, disbelief, and a crushing sadness. But I wasn't going to break. I refused to be weak in this moment. I had to do something. This wasn't just about her betrayal, this was about me taking back control, about confronting the truth that I had been blind to for so long. The anger was burning inside me, but I held it together. I knew I couldn't react impulsively. I had to think, plan, and make sure I would expose everything she had done. The truth was out there, and now it was time to reveal it. I wouldn't let her get away with it. As I dug deeper, I uncovered something even more disturbing. It wasn't just Becky who had betrayed me, it was her entire family. Her parents, the ones who had always acted like the perfect, moral, upstanding people in town, knew everything. I found texts between Becky and her mother that left me speechless. In one, Becky confessed her guilt, saying, "I'm freaking out, Emily knows about Jason and me, what if she tells him?" Her mother's response was chilling, "Don't worry, honey. Your father will handle it." In another exchange, her father, Pastor Robert, was involved, discussing how they would cover everything up. "Be more careful, Becky. We can't let this ruin our family's reputation. We've worked too hard for that." They weren't concerned about me, about the marriage we had built. They were only concerned with their image, their status, and maintaining the facade of the perfect family. I was nothing more than a pawn in their game, a tool to protect their public image. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't part of the family. I wasn't someone they cared about. I was just a means to an end, a husband they could manipulate to maintain their picture-perfect life. I had been nothing but a convenient cover-up for their daughter's affair. They wanted to keep up the charade, to preserve their reputation in the church and the community, and I was the one who had to pay the price. I was the one who was made to look like the fool. The disappointment and anger flooded my mind as I read through those conversations. How could they be so cold? How could they sit at the dinner table with me, smile at me, act like family, all while knowing the truth? It wasn't just Becky who had betrayed me. It was everyone around her, everyone who I had trusted. They were all complicit in the lie, and now, I was done being their pawn. I had spent weeks planning every detail, gathering every shred of evidence to expose the truth. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to let them think they could get away with it. I had the pictures, the texts, the videos. Everything was organized, carefully sorted by date, with each piece of evidence backing up the lies Becky and her family had told. But I wasn't just going to walk up to them and throw it in their faces. No, I needed something bigger, something that would leave no room for doubt, no way to deny what they had done. Thanksgiving was approaching, and I knew that would be the perfect time. Her family always held a big dinner, a gathering filled with church members, friends, and close family. It was a show, a display of their perfect life. Pastor Robert would give a long blessing, all eyes on him as he preached about family values and integrity. I had spent years playing the fool in their perfect little world, but this time, I would be the one controlling the show. I had arranged for everything to fall into place. I had hired a process server to deliver the divorce papers to Becky and her parents right in the middle of their precious dinner. I could already picture the look on their faces when they opened those envelopes, their lives crashing down in front of everyone they had tried so hard to impress. The server was set to arrive at exactly the right moment, just as the first course was being served, when everyone was paying attention to the meal, the conversation, the performance. I wanted them to feel what I had felt. I wanted them to understand the betrayal, the humiliation, and the anger I had been holding inside for so long. This wasn't just about Becky. It was about her parents, the man she had been with, and the life they had all tried to destroy. I wasn't just going to expose them, I was going to make sure they paid for what they did to me. The clock was ticking. Every moment leading up to Thanksgiving felt like an eternity. I could already hear the chaos in my mind, the screaming, the confusion. And I was ready. I had a plan, I had the proof, and most importantly, I had the element of surprise on my side. It was all coming together perfectly. The truth would be laid bare, and there would be no escaping it. The moment had arrived. I stood up slowly, the weight of everything I had been holding and pressing down on me. Becky looked at me with a mix of confusion and worry, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for a way out. The room was filled with people, the usual guests, the church members, the family, everyone who had been part of their perfect little world. They were all laughing, talking, oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. I didn't waste any time. I pulled out the envelope and opened it, letting the first set of pictures fall onto the table. Becky's face went pale as she saw the first one. It was an image of her and Dr. Jason Cooper, standing too close, holding hands, their faces lit up with smiles. The room fell into silence immediately. I could feel every eye on me, and I knew they all saw, what I had known for months. I moved on, one picture after another, showing them together in hotel rooms, laughing, kissing, and looking like nothing had ever mattered more than their secret affair. Becky tried to speak, her lips trembling, but no words came out. The guests were too shocked to say anything. Her father, Pastor Robert, was sitting at the head of the table, his face contorted in disbelief as he saw the evidence. I could see his hands shaking as he picked up the papers I had laid out. There was no way out for them now. Then came the texts. I read aloud, each message more damning than the last. "I can't wait to tell him it's yours," I read, my voice steady but cold. "He'll never suspect a thing. We'll have our life together." The silence grew thicker with each word. The air in the room was heavy with the weight of the truth. Becky's mother sat there, her face flushed, unable to meet anyone's eyes. I watched them squirm. I watched as Becky's world crumbled, as she realized she could no longer control the story. The lie was exposed, and there was no turning back. I could feel a strange calmness wash over me. This was it. The truth had been laid bare, and there was no escape for them. As I looked around the room, I saw people whispering, some looking for an exit, others too stunned to move. Jason's wife, Katie, stood up, her face flushed with anger and betrayal. "What baby?" she screamed, turning to Jason. He was too shocked to respond, his face pale and sweat beading on his forehead. It was all out in the open now. They were all exposed. For the first time in months, I felt free. I had done this for myself, for the man who had been deceived and lied to for so long. No one deserves to live in a relationship built on lies, and I had taken back control. There was no more pretending, no more faking happiness. I wasn't the fool anymore. I had been strong, I had been patient, and now the truth was finally out. I stood tall, looking at them all, as I said quietly, "This is how it ends. You all thought you could get away with it. But not anymore." The chaos that erupted afterward didn't matter. It was all over. Sometimes, you don't need to shout to prove your strength. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply to do what's right. I didn't seek revenge for the sake of drama. I sought it because I owed it to myself to confront the truth, to stand up for my own dignity, and to take back control of my life. Justice doesn't always look like what you expect. Sometimes, it's just exposing the lies for what they are and letting the truth speak for itself. If you found this story compelling and think it's worth sharing, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel. I've got more stories like this, stories of justice, revenge, and truth that need to be heard. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes doing the right thing is the most powerful move you can make.